Welcome, you're on the Fringe Show. I'm your host, Tatiana Zalan, and I go live every Friday at 2 p.m. Dubai time. The Fringe is about our future, technology, art, and society. I help you to navigate the rapidly changing world so that you too can take advantage of these opportunities that are unfolding. A few episodes ago, 2 episodes to be more precise, I started a new series, Secrets of the Digital Art World. And the first secret was about 2 commandments for digital artists and how they should be building brand and fan base. Secret number 2 was on how technology is impacting the art market. The traditional art world is trying to catch up and work with digital art and technology as art, generally speaking. And I really highlighted what it means for you as an artist. And today, where I'm continuing this kind of conversation, and I'm talking about secret number 3, which is in search of a new visual language, how this whole space and digital art in particular is looking for a new language. The usual disclaimer, the views are my own. They do not represent the views of the organizations or other employees I'm associated with. The Fringe Show is for educational purposes only. And it would be really hard to talk about art without showing you some art. And let's start with that. Okay. So what exactly do you see here, right? I want to talk a little bit about that. Whenever you go these days as an artist or gallerist or curator, the visual language everywhere is more or less the same, a statistical mean. These are just 2 paintings that picked from the internet very randomly. I didn't even realize that what I picked is actually very similar in terms of color even. It's half figurative abstract art. And there is plenty of such art in both global and local art galleries, exhibitions, other fairs. And such mimetic behavior is quite understandable. It's almost subconscious and has always existed. What's also interesting is that, it all begins with star artists in global art centers like London and Paris and New York. They become famous. This art becomes trend-setting. Collectors love them. Galleries love them too. And this is being broadcast to artists. Artists, of course, want to supply, to match supply with demand. So they supplied whatever is being sought and so on and so on and so on. Such imitation is quite fast because of the internet. In the past, it used to be a lot slower. But the visual language, as you can see of these artworks, is so much alike. I begin to repeat, it's kind of half figurative abstract art. It seems to be in at the moment, but it's repetitive and not very memorable. And don't get me wrong, this art sells and there are collectors for such art as well. But as an artist, as a professional career artist, I think it's important to have a balance between understanding what actually the general trends are, but also how you search for your own language. Herbert Simon, one of the fathers of decision-making, cybernetics, once remarked that abundance of information creates positive attention. And this is what we see today in today's world. We're bombarded with huge amounts of information, not characteristic of previous generations. And the only artwork that stands out are the ones that have some emotions and meaning attached to it. For example, it can be a strong story and narrative, and this is precisely why image and a person's brand, artist's brand, are so important. And I talked about that in particular in secret number 1, how you need to buy your own brand, but also your fan base. And you decide whether you want to be an artist with nice pictures or an artist with a brand. What we're seeing right now is in a way a reflection of the more general global local tension in the economic realm. This lookalike art can be found anywhere in the world. You go to Tbilisi, you go to London, you go to some local galleries, but the most sought after art globally ultimately incorporates the visual language that is embedded in the local context. Generally, we do see this search for a new language, and that's particularly true for digital art. This search is a manifestation of the issues raised by the so-called post-internet art. So what do we mean by post-internet art? Let me just get back to you. Well, what is post-internet art? In 2010, someone called Ati Verkant, he is an artist and he was at the time adjunct professor of New York University. He published a very well-known article that resonated with a lot of artists, the image object post-internet. And he responded to this term post-internet. He didn't coin the term, but he was just writing about what exactly it means, post-internet, and what's its relationship to artistic practices. Put simply, post-internet art is simply the influx of the internet and its associated technologies into the production of traditional media. And this media can be, say, oil paintings, or it can be gallery-based sculpture. And it highlights the impact of imaging software such as Photoshop. Now, of course, we have more than that, more advanced technologies like Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, AI-generated arts, basically. And so the impact of those technologies on artistic production, that was the focus of his work. And Viacant defined the term post-internet as a contemporary moment in the arts that uses attention as a form of currency. Remember, we are bombarded with information, so attention does become a currency. And we see it in the art world, we see it generally in the internet and social media world. And so we are looking at here two kind of tendencies, two historical artistic modes, which are most commonly associated with post-internet art. One is new media art, and the other one is conceptualism. New media art, typically focused on the novelty of new technologies, is not engaged into any explorations of ideas, of concepts. Conceptualism, on the other hand, prioritizes ideas over physical material. So post-internet art functions in this space, in this very kind of fluid, dynamic space between new media, conceptualism, online and offline. And maybe just let me illustrate that with, again, with art from Viacant himself. That's a bit of his work. These are objects created by Ati Viacant, sculptural prints. They have a dual life as both objects and also disseminating images. It doesn't have really a year on it because it's an ongoing project, that particular one. Each piece begins its life in a digital file or as a digital file, and then it is rendered as a UV print on dye bond that's got precision cut to create photographic prints with the depth and presence of a sculpture. And then he creates objects or projects that have a dual life between an immaterial form, but also a material object. And that's deliberately suggesting that all forms are in some shape or form are hybrid, in between digital and physical, in between conceptualism and new technologies. So that's a great example of this kind of art. And I think, talking about new technologies, let me talk a little bit about art and AI and get back to this topic, because it is a very hotly contested topic right now. It's all over social media. On LinkedIn, they talk about it all the time. On Twitter, there are all the time discussions and fights over whether it's art or not. A lot of artists are genuinely disappointed at what's going on, and there are lawsuits even that are going on. So is AI generated art? art? In other words, is AI art a new language that we're looking for right now when there is no visual language? Well, maybe, but you need to take into account a couple of other things. AI takes the average of all images it has seen. So we're back exactly to the same problem of art that has no unique visual language and is some kind of statistical mean. This is the argument that I started this discussion today, this show today. So legalities and laws and even ethics and not copyrightable things aside, remember, if you're an artist, digital artist, physical artist, doesn't matter. A professional collector buys something very different. They're after consciously constructed, unique vision of an artist, not an average. Be wary of that and be prepared to think about this art in new visual language in those kind of terms. What else is part of a new visual language that's absolutely critical to finding it? And that includes an active social stance. The time when the artist was exclusively solving an aesthetic problem has passed. It's over. Art for art's sake does not exist anymore. So social stance is now being kind of very big part of a career of an artist. If you're a career artist and not just a hobbyist, art today cannot exist outside of socio-political processes. We live in a time where the old system is dead or dying and the new one has not emerged yet. We're searching for a new, more equitable, socially just paradigm, away from the one where 1% of people on this planet Earth, the so-called elites, I call them deletes, control the overwhelming overwhelming majority of wealth. Culture and creative professionals are very much part of the search process. And the best art is always an exploration. And right now it's the best time to explore the design and the makeup of this new social and political paradigm, new social system. To give an example of an artist who has done it really, really well, and this would be the familiar Guernica, right? Picasso's Guernica. This painting is a requiem to the people of Spain who decided to build a republic, a requiem for a revolution. For every Spaniard like Picasso, the corrida is a symbol of freedom, a fight with a bull. Guernica's bull is something even more than that. It's the biblical behemoth, a symbol of fascism. Picasso shows a corrida that has been lost. And the bull, the symbol of the big empire, has prevailed over the idea of the republic. The bullfight is an idea which is coming from antiquity, and you can also interpret the meaning behind this painting as a fight between the light and culture and the chthonic forces, the underworld. And by the way, Picasso very publicly declared his anti-fascist stand back in 1937. So I want to wrap up this show to you guys, to everyone here, a few takeaways. If you're an artist, or maybe even if you're a collector, there is a search for a new language that's going on right now, where anything goes. And just to quote one of my favorite curators, gallerist, and art critic, Marina Albitro of Artocratia, you can do anything, but you need to understand why. So everything goes right now, but just be clear why you're doing what you're doing. We do have this overlay and mishmash of various concepts and styles and digital and local and global, but be unique. If you want to be a commercially successful known artist, you need to develop your own unique visual language, which needs to be so sensitive to the local context, while at the same time understanding global trends. Social stance should be a big part of your identity as a creative professional and creative entrepreneur. I hope this helps. I hope you enjoyed the show. And thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you again in sometime on Friday. And bye for now. All the best to you.